Good evening to our friends in America, and we have friends from Asia. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for stopping by here. George is our executive director. He's a technical director. He's from San Jose. Thank you very much. And we also have our translator, Weihaur from San Francisco. He will be translating from English to Cantonese. And thank you very much to our translator, Clare. She's from Singapore, translating from English to Mandarin. Thank you so much for stopping by. My name is Jennie. I'm from New York City. It's an honor to be here. And my co-host, Norman, will join me very soon. So Hightea is a community platform. Our platform is to connect our friends and family around the globe, and it was formed during the pandemic time. We like to share our life experience, and most importantly, we empowering each other. So tonight we have a honor to have Lily Liu, our guest speaker, talk about a subject that we all familiar with, is caregiver. So I will let her to bring to the world of caregiver. So we're also familiar with the tiger mother, the terms made popularized by Amy Chua in the turn of 2000. So let's not get into that. We're all familiar because we all grew up with that demanding mother. So we know they're demanding the tough love and stuff. We're not going to get into that. We, as a daughter, a son, we all know what is the circle of caregiver. So Lily Liu, she had a very successful career as at AARP. She's a speechwriter for board of directors and also CEO at AARP, which is Asian American Retiring People. And she also award winner the magazine at AARP. She was the editor. So she will walk through us her journey as a caregiver. From her journey, we will see as an Asian American Pacific Islander, so in the historical context and also the past, present, and future. So without further ado, let's really bring us to her world as a caregiver.
Thank you so much, Jennie. Thank you to everyone for the very warm welcome. I am so delighted and so honored to be with all of you. I found out about the Hightea Universe community from someone I call now my little sister. Her name is Elizabeth Wang, and we had met about 2.5 years ago out on the West Coast. And I so respected her as a nurse, and then being able to share us both being caregiver daughters. So she was the one who had taken a landmark course, gotten to know all of you. She gave a beautiful presentation a few months ago, and then she put me in touch with Jennie. So first of all, thank you, Xiao Mei, little sister Elizabeth. By putting me in touch with Jennie, I call Jennie our fashionista. I don't know how to translate that, but I think every culture has a fashionista, and that is our Jennie. She has welcomed me into this universe, and I've been able to come in and watch 2 or 3 of your beautiful presentations. I'd like to also thank George, the interpreters, the translators, all the efforts that you have put out in order to make this such a smooth event for me. With all of you knowing that in our tradition as Chinese Americans, Chinese Singaporeans, we all, no matter what, love the Moon Festival, the Mid-Autumn Festival. So I was able to find a beautiful picture of the moon, and I thought it's perfect for the Hightea universe. because no matter where we are, whether we're in Hawaii, like Jade, who is also a friend of Elizabeth, or dear Clare, who is a translator sitting in the morning in Singapore. So you saw the sunrise while we're looking at the moonrise. We in the Chinese tradition all love the moon because no matter how far we are from home, we all look at the same moon. So today I honor all of you as my Chinese American family, my Singapore, all the different hyphenations. So I'd like to first say that I have my tea ready. I hope you all have your beverage ready. And may we raise a toast to all of you and your beautiful community. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Cheers to everybody.
And if everyone has stronger than tea, go ahead and ganbei. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share some slides because I want to show you some family photos, and that makes the storytelling more personal. So being invited to be with all of you, I think it's really important for us to share. Everyone talks about the Chinese diaspora, meaning people from China have gone all over the world. Many left from Canton 200 years ago almost. My family came in the 1960s to America. So our whole lives, every single one of us, because we are immigrants somewhere in the world from China, our story is about migrations. And I feel that that is the theme of my journey as a caretaker, a caregiver, a care partner for my mother. So in order to understand this journey, I wanted you to understand that I have had a very interesting journey because it's new. You do not understand caregiving until you have to start doing it yourself. And that's why I'm so grateful to the Hightea Universe community for giving me a chance to tell this story, because when you're a caretaker, a caregiver, you're often alone by yourself with your elderly relative or your elderly friend. So I'm so grateful to have people who are ready to listen to this journey that I'm on. In America, not many people understand the situation of caregivers. So I was delighted when I went to a store and they actually are selling a card that is to give to a caregiver. So that means the business world now knows that caregiving is something that a lot of people are doing. We actually have a dear friend named Jen Chan, a bright young woman who's actually started a whole collection of caregiver cards. Maybe one day you all can invite her. The point is, we as caregivers would love to receive a card. It acknowledges all the efforts that we're doing. So for example, this card says, "It can't be easy doing what you do. There are so many sacrifices, tough choices, and difficult decisions to make, but you do it, and with such love." That is so true. And then inside the card, though, the sentiment is even stronger. "Hope you know how amazing that is and how important you are to those who depend on you." So can you imagine what it must feel like as a caregiver to receive such a card and know that somebody cares? In America, we have so many diverse people. It is truly a country of immigrants. So many cultures do not understand that when we give care to someone, for example, if we take some hot soup to a neighbor, or if we take a friend to the doctors, or if we're caring for our parent in the home and we're giving them the medicine, that means you are a family caregiver. So I've often said it's like the Bible, name it. You've got to understand that you are a family caregiver because so many things, benefits and services, are tied to the term caregiver. So if you're not even using the word, you think, oh, I'm just taking some soup to the neighbor. You're missing out on free services and some very important benefits. So I've often advised my Chinese American friends, understand that when you do those things, you are a family caregiver. My journey began when my late father passed away very quickly of cancer. He was gone in literally 5 weeks, a very late stage cancer. So I also like to teach my friends there are almost two patterns to care. You may be doing it in an acute, 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 very quick, an illness and they're gone. Or it could be a chronic illness, dementia, in my case with my mother, Parkinson's, diabetes. That is a long-term chronic illness. So you can be a caregiver in two different ways, quickly with an acute illness or long, sometimes for decades, with a chronic illness. And mine began when my father passed away and the full-time care of my mother came to me in the fall of 2011. So that is almost 9 years of being a caregiver full-time. In America, we're fortunate because at the very highest level, the wife of a president, former First Lady Rosalind Carter, the wife of President Jimmy Carter, 卡特总统, she very early in her life cared for her grandparents and other people in her family. So if you think about my giving you the story of what I'm experiencing in America, you may think, oh, I will be different in Singapore. I will be different on the mainland of China. I will be different in Malaysia. And yet the way Mrs. Carter puts it, we're all in the same boat. Can you imagine the way she describes it? It's so universal. There are those who have been caregivers. There are those who are currently caregivers. There are those who will be caregivers. And then there are those who will need caregivers themselves. So really, there are only 4 kinds of people in the world. And each of you, as you're listening to this, may actually say the same thing. I've been a caregiver. I'm currently a caregiver. I will probably become a caregiver. And I myself one day will need care. So I didn't understand this journey because when Dad died, it was so sudden, and all of a sudden I had to take care of my mom. So now, as I've had time to sit and reflect, there's a wonderful saying by the philosopher Kierkegaard, life can be understood only backwards, but it must be lived forwards. So now as I look back at these past 9 years, I understand that my care partner, my caregiving role has also been about migrations. And I was so happy the other day I went to a garden, socially distanced from my neighbors, and I saw a monarch butterfly on its way south. It is migrating. You know, these butterflies fly thousands of miles in the winter towards Mexico. So I took that picture just perfect because I wanted to share it with all of you that when I'm a caregiver, I'm still, again, on a migration path. And then I realized our entire migration theme means you're going from something to something. You're going from a country to another country. So think about your own lives and what you think is a migration pattern in your life. Of course, for us in America, it means that our ancestors came from China. In our immediate family, my parents, because of escaping the Civil War, went first to Taiwan. And then my late father was a very good student, and he was able to come to America to study. But he had to leave when I was just a child. So my mother, there she is in her late 20s with me as the little baby. She had to be there alone, taking care of me and a younger brother by 2 years. So I always look at my baby pictures. I wonder if any of you also look and think, oh my goodness, what a bad hair day we had, right? My hair was always a mess and still is a mess. It must be something hereditary. But my point is that once my father left to migrate, it was a choice for my parents. Should we have him come back to Taiwan, or should we immigrate to America? And because at that time, my father got a PhD and started teaching, my mother, myself, and the other brother were able to emigrate, leave Taiwan to immigrate to America. And then about a year and a half later, a baby brother was born. So we have always been a small nuclear family. And so you can imagine for me at age 6, we came, and that's a picture of me actually leaving the very day we were leaving from the Taipei airport. And those of you who are joining us and know, back at that time, it was not the Taoyuan airport, it was still the old one, Songshan airport. And so who knew that all those years ago, I standing there would today, all these decades later, have this caregiving situation. I would have not known what the future held. But everyone who's here in America of any immigrant background has to understand that in 1965, in December, then President Johnson signed a very important act that was for immigration purposes, opening up of America. So if you think about it, 1965 till now, how many years is that? So anybody who came, like my parents, young students coming to get their graduate degree, all these decades later, they have aged. So the aging of America and the aging of these immigrants, nobody was really prepared. They came with dreams, they came for work. I don't think as immigrants, they really had time to prepare, which means then my generation of children are having an issue that nobody really prepared for. So if you look at my mother proudly holding me, in a way, I sort of look that way now after the pandemic. I'm eating so much, I still have the chubby cheeks again. But there she is holding me proudly as a toddler. And in a blink of an eye, all these years later, I am caring for her, the reversal of our roles. The parent becomes almost like the child. Because of her Parkinson's, she is in a wheelchair now, and it is a degenerative disease, which means it will only get worse. But look at the difference of her caring for me, and now I care for her. But this is nothing new. Sappho, a wonderful woman poet of the 6th century BC, 6 centuries before Christ, once wrote about the aging phenomenon. My skin once soft is wrinkled now. My hair once black has turned to white. My heart has become heavy. My knees that once danced nimbly like fawns cannot carry me. How often I lament these things, but what can be done? No one who is human can escape old age. So it is a universal phenomenon. As people like to say, turning old is better than the alternative, death. But look how many centuries ago she wrote this. So here in America, I belong to the generation of 78 million people, the baby boomers, born between 1946, right after that World War II, and the years of peace, 1964. That is called a demographic cohort. There are 78 million of us, and we ourselves are aging, but then with the bonus of longevity of our parents, we have more and more caregiving responsibilities. Because of better health, our parents are living longer. So you can imagine when I began my caregiving journey, I said to myself, I wonder what other people are experiencing. So as a result, I looked and I found all these books, but they did not speak to me exactly because they were written by Caucasians. They were written by others. I couldn't find things written by Chinese Americans. So then I started thinking, what is different for those of us who are immigrants, and why? I'm from the East, but I'm now living in the West. How is my caregiving experience different? And then I realized there are three very key points. When you are an immigrant, you left the rest of your family in Asia. So we are only five, a nuclear family, two parents, three kids. So I cannot call a cousin who lives in Ohio to come and help me. Our cousins are probably, 20,000 miles away, 18 hours by flight. So that is a problem when you're a caregiver. You have what I call not enough helpers, not enough hands on deck. Second, of course, there's the language differences. How many of us as immigrants, when we came as children, ended up having to be the translators to interpret for our elders? Their English could not be that good. So I've often seen, even now, 8-year-olds standing there trying to interpret, trying to translate for someone older. Think of the power shift. Think of the obligations. Think of the responsibilities. And then, of course, the third and last point is how well have you assimilated into American culture, into the mainstream, as they would call it. So these were three things that really started me thinking about how our Chinese American, I like to use the hyphen, the Chinese American caregiving experience is different. So why don't we all drink a little bit, because pondering that
Yeah.
gives me a headache. As I thought about all that, I'm one of these people that always tries to find a solution. So I started doing research and I said, surely there must be others who have noticed this difference of being different from the mainstream. And I found a lot of research that African American Black researchers say that in their culture, they tend to keep family who are older at home. So I realized, oh, there are similarities with the African American Black experience. And then I went to a wonderful conference once where a Latinx, a Hispanic Latina professor she said, when I was in graduate school, they handed out a survey as a draft and told us to react to it. And she said, I looked at the cover and the title of the survey was called, How Do You Feel About the Burden of Caregiving? And she said, oh my goodness, in my culture, we would never call it a burden. We'd call it an act of love. So once again, I realized others are experiencing differences in the family caregiving experience. So of course, for us, from the Confucian, Asian, Chinese tradition, even if I didn't read Lun Yu, the Analects of Confucius, I know about that concept of filial piety, xiao. So even though I left so young from Taiwan, this concept is in my blood. It's in, as the Americans like to say, it's in our DNA. So what has that meant for me as a Chinese American caregiver for my mother? That's when I realized those of us who are experiencing this, it was the same concept as when Crazy Rich Asians came out and everyone was talking about, oh, it's the first cinema film in 20 some years that has an all Asian cast. Oh, representation is so important. The younger children get to see people that look like them in an actor role. And I realized that not only should I care for my mother, but I now have a responsibility to be a voice, to raise the issues of what it means to be a multicultural, a diverse caregiver. And we have to be a voice on behalf of our elders and add our Asian American, our Chinese voice to this discussion. It will affect so many things, policy, advocacy issues, all the things that even now, if we look at the census, we must fill out the census because that determines so many things, benefits, the count in Congress. So I realized that beyond just living my experience, I have a responsibility on behalf of our community. And also to present materials in Chinese, it costs money to translate. but we must do that and make these issues known in our native languages, our heritage language. So when I started going out and thinking about all this and making a point to others, I would first start by saying, oh, all these statistics, there are now approximately 42 million family caregivers in America, blah, blah, blah. And everybody's eyes would cross because it was all data, it was all statistics, it was all just numbers. And when I tried to put things in a slide, people would say, oh my goodness, that gives me a headache. Nearly 40 million Americans, 1 in 5 adults, blah, blah, blah. So I realized that yes, we can provide this, but when we're on the stage, it is important to actually weave it into a story. People understand stories and they remember stories. If you look at the bonfire, and I apologize if anybody's on the West Coast, you're not really happy now about all the situations with the fire, and our hearts are with you. But since the cavemen, we as a species have gathered around the bonfire. Number one, to be able to talk to each other, to pass on knowledge, to share our experiences. So that was what I started to do, was start to go around and be a speaker using stories. And so I realized that rather than just talking about all of these issues, I should put a face. I'm very private, so why would I use our family photos? Well, people can identify when they see an Asian face. And then I started writing about my story, and I've been able, through AARP's work, put it out in some of the publications. And if anybody would like copies, I'm more than happy to do that. And so I started thinking, as dear Jeannie said, everyone knows about the tiger mother, how hard they drive their kids. But for the 78 million baby boomers, of which we as Asian Americans make up a lot, it is not about the tiger mother. I came up with the concept of the dragging daughter. And so I said, dragging sounds so negative, Dragging. Why don't I make it a stronger, more positive thing? And I came up with the word dragon daughter, Dragon, Long. And would you believe it? One day I was looking, how we all get those, oh gosh, tons of catalogs. I looked and there was this beautiful dragon pin for only $19. Since then, it's gone to $12. So if anybody wants to buy one, because usually the dragons are so ugly, but this one, as you can see, is a happy dragon. And it's a red color, which we as Chinese Americans love. So then I knew I had something that I could wear on stage and people would identify with my theme. So that became my theme, going from the dragging daughter, dragging with fatigue, dragging with worry, dragging with responsibilities. But how do you become the dragon daughter or the dragon son? You empower yourself with information. And that was what drew Elizabeth, whom I mentioned, and is the source of my getting to know all of you. She came up to me about 2.5 years ago when we met, and she said, I love this concept of becoming a dragon daughter. So I hope that all of you as dragon sons, dragon daughters know we can evolve, we can morph, metamorphosis, we can change from being a tired dragging daughter or son into something dragon and strong because we empower ourselves with information. Sometimes we in the Asian American community are a little bit too, too withdrawn from the community, mainstream community, but we must go out there and look for information and empower ourselves. So because my mother has Parkinson's, I was scrambling all the time. So of course, there's disease specific associations. And for Parkinson's, I was able to find so many. And one of them actually had a free kit. You just call, you get it, and they send it to you. So why do we not take this and empower ourselves and learn about the disease, learn about what our parents are facing, and become stronger advocates for them? If anybody would like information about this kit, it's a 1-800 number, and you call and it comes and it's full of information and a medical bracelet for free. So it's called the Aware in Care Kit. And then, of course, my trying to learn how to say specific terms in Chinese. I came so young, so I never studied Chinese in school. Wherever I go, I try to find materials in the information tables that are in different languages. For example, the Alzheimer's Association is wonderful. They know that it is affecting the Chinese reading community, so they have translated so many of their materials. So if anybody is facing this issue, I can point you to the source of these materials. But I've also been very generous in sharing my ideas, my experiences. I hope all of you will do that later in the Q&A. One of my friends said, oh, my mother, she's always dropping food on the rug. I have to clean it every night. And then somebody told me, oh, our caregiver was so smart. She worked in an office, so she knew that there are those mats. So we had, my friend bought one of these mats, put it under her mother's dining room chair. Voila, no more dirty rug. So simple, but if we hadn't shared, we wouldn't have helped each other. And then, of course, research the free and low income benefits and some of the what they call sliding scale depending on your income. You cannot believe how many resources there are. For example, there are these what they call durable medical equipment. Perhaps after someone passes away, the family might donate crutches or a free wheelchair. And sometimes these are parts of hospitals or community, sometimes they call them community closets, and you can either have them for free or some places rent things cheaply. So my point is, we as Asian Americans, we as Chinese Americans and other immigrants try to learn about all the wonderful things out there. The American system, the American culture is such a generous and giving one. And there are so many things that can be shared. And I too want to share what we have. So I have donated quite a few things myself. And then, of course, most important is every one of the things that we do, and especially now in this election year, please, please, please understand policy, understand legislation. Everyone knows that our support at the local level, federal dollars, state dollars, are they being allocated on these issues? So the point is become informed on the issues and add a voice, your voice. Sometimes we from countries other than this one come here, immigrate, try to blend in, try to learn the system, but it's hard in one generation. But ultimately it is policy, legislation, things like that that help. So definitely, once again, fill out the census if you are able to learn as much as you can about the issues and the policies. Become, as they say, an informed voter. So once again, as I said, that card, remember the middle section said, as a caregiver, there are so many sacrifices, tough choices, and difficult decisions to make. I do not want to make this journey so easy and light. It is hard. There are days where you're going to have a horrible headache. You're going to have your finances totally messed up because so many families and the caregivers are taking money out of their own pockets, especially with immigrant parents, to help pay for their needs. And definitely invest in tissues. I should have bought stock in the Kleenex company because you definitely are going to shed a lot of tears. But I also try to think about what they call the gratitude journal, because you can always get really depressed by what's going wrong. So it can be basic as, thank God somebody invented the dishwasher machine. Because after you've put your mother to bed at 9:30 and she doesn't want to go to bed, just like I didn't want to go to bed, she said, when I was 6 years old, you are so happy that somebody invented the dishwasher machine so you can put everything in there and go to bed yourself. And I know that everybody, when you go to any conference, they'll say, oh, it's so important to do self-care. They often use this, the metaphor of on an airplane, don't forget, those little safety cards say, put the oxygen mask on yourself first and then help somebody else. But I always say, how do you do self-care? It is really hard. It is really, really hard. And when can you do it? When there's nobody here to help you. So as I said, I was so lucky just a few days ago to catch the monarch butterflies in migration. You too may be migrating from being the child of someone now to acting like the parent of your parent. But I've always reminded everybody, just like the Chinese Lao Tzu saying, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And here in America, as immigrant children, as immigrants yourself, what is that first step? And in the caregiving space, it is to know that you are called a family caregiver. Because if you Google other words, you're not going to come upon the benefits and services. But if you use the correct word, keyword, family caregiver, you too will find many resources. And I hope that all of you who are like me now, a dragging daughter or son, can empower yourselves and become the dragon daughter or son. Thank you so much for your attention tonight and this morning.
Thank you so much, Lily. Wow. Thank you for this beautiful, moving story of yours. Bring from your childhood, come across to the ocean to America. You have a successful career, and now you become the caregiver and also a loving daughter. So much only the complex feeling only you know, and I'm sure our audiences can so much relate with your own experience. So let's have a Q&A. You know, I'm sure all our audiences would love to share their experience. Norman, you want to share something before we start that?
Yeah, I just want to encourage everybody here. It's an intimate group. I want to acknowledge I'm part of the person to spread the news. I wish there's much more people coming in. Lily, you did a great presentation with perspective that I would say is eye-opening. I I would say it's not an expectation. It's really way bigger than the expectation of, I'm sure all of us here. Uh, yes, just we talk about caregiver, but caregiver with these cross country, generational, all this come together. It's just like I don't know. It's like smorgasbord of taking care of your parents or elderly or even some grandparents, and just like the 8 years old you talk about.
Yes, and I didn't even mention those of you who have aging parents in Malaysia or Singapore or China. There's a term for what you're going through. It's called transnational caregiver. It's actually a term used by the United Nations, transnational caregiver. So when you Google, use that word, transnational, all one word, because that means you're caregiving across continents. And when you're working in America and you have only 2 weeks of vacation, how do you go back to Malaysia? So that's why I became such an activist and an advocate, because unless we speak up about our own experiences, number one, people won't know. And number two, we must create the change that we want. Because unless you're going home to Malaysia, you're here, and your old age is not going to be easy.
Yeah.
And may I add, like this, Lily, I want to acknowledge, although we have not a big audience, but that is, we're going to get the replay for a lot to take it to a lot of people. But we have Guoseng from Beijing. We have another person, Miss Kok from Beijing. We have somebody from Chicago, right? At least 2 or 3 people from Chicago. I see Roy, maybe Jennifer.
Yes, it's not the number of people, it's the fact that you've all taken time out of your day to come and join us. 谢谢。早安，北京早安。
So Susan, I see Susan, like, would you be saying something, question and answer your experience, or Roy?
Yeah,
Like,
feel free to open up your.
Okay. So it's a very broad, this is a very broad subject. It's personal, it's universal, and also there's a policy legislation. Chinese don't love to share, especially family matters. So it's a very tricky situation, you know, and I encourage everybody to share your experience because Lily, as a historian and also, you know, archivist for AARP, which is retiring, she's an expert in that area, retiring world. She also did a lot of research as a caretaker. So it's so much wealth of information we can learn from Lily. So I, as a do Guoshen have questions?
Yes, George does.
Translate.
George does.
Jade would like to ask a question. Jade?
Oh, George can go first.
Oh, go ahead, Jay.
Oh,
这个平台
okay,
让
ladies
我
first.
慢慢的把自己打开，能链接到全球的好朋友，我觉得很开心。所以在上面我也学习了很多。
我生很高兴见到你。
Okay, let me do the translation a little bit for him because
有问题吗？
So-
我们可以跟你翻译的。
okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I can
Yes.
translate for Guoseng. Guoseng said this platform, he has been a repeat participant. He's from Beijing, entrepreneur, and he's also in the fashion and lifestyle business. And Guoseng said, just this platform allow me to open my eyes to the world. And he has thankfulness for this. I have.
Beautiful.
国生继续。
其实每个人都有自己的故事，我觉得只有最真实的故事最能打动身边的人，也能打动你的受众，这样呢，会让自己更大的进步。
And every one of us have our own story, and our real life experience is the most touching one that can inspire people. And this sharing will just allow us to support one another and all benefit from, you know, the different angles.
其实，在疫情我最难受的时候，我非常的封闭自己。通过这个课程，通过跟大家的交流，其实我也一步一步的打开自己。
Back a couple months ago, when this pandemic reached a height in China, I was very sad and depressed, and I'm facing difficulty in my business. But I come across to this, and I find that I find some new energy to open up myself, and step by step, I open up not only to my heart, but to people around me and accept their help. And now I think I'm just seeing a lot of good opening in future.
Jennie 其实对我帮助很大，她非常坚定的，让我把自己打开， 让我去面对大家。非常感谢Jennie，真的是给了我很大的动力。
Thanks Jennie's reaching out so that it allows me to really her support and you know touch my heart and yeah I say thank you.
如果是你我刚才说你是欢迎的，不用客气，因为我们是同行。
So in English, you can use English. Okay, I'll do.
So, Liu Guosheng also in the fashion world. Sorry, Lily, gonna be distract 1 minute. So, he acknowledging me, the Hightea, helping him. So, and he went through tremendously in the fashion world. It's a very volatile business. So he have a lot of talent. So I'm very happy and honored to have him to share with us. So, and again, everybody, Hightea is like a community service worldwide and Asian American. We don't want to limit because because of the border. So, and especially we share a lot of value, family value, it even has a human value. So I'm very happy that Liu Guosheng has empowered through our Hightea. So, and Liu Guosheng, thank you so much for stopping by. And let's focus on, and maybe tonight is a subject that we all can be related, which is a family.
Let's drink a little tea. I propose, can we extend it for a few more minutes, like say 5, maybe in case someone have to go, they can go, but 5 minutes to 10 minutes. And I hear that Jay would like to share, ask question, and George,
Yes.
and then some other one, right? Who do I not remember? Okay, so we are open.
谢谢大家。
Thank you.
Also, Norman and all our participants, guests, we're going to extend another 15 minutes because we did start it late. And our translation going to start in a few minutes. Whoever needs translation, we can do live translation. Norman can do the translation, or I can do, and thank you very much for Clare for our translation from English to Mandarin, and also Weihaur from English to Cantonese. And now we can freely talk, and then without the translation, if anything needed, we can do the provide translation live.
I see Korean from Beijing also, and then feel free to open.
也是从北京来的。
Yeah.
你也可以打开视频啊。
That's Jade asked the question. Jade, would you please?
Jade, 你想问问题对吗？
Okay. So actually, we stopped the translation already. Claire, can you do just sentence by sentence in case when Jay said, okay?
Okay. First of all, I want to say 谢谢你.
Sorry, if I'm going to continue to translate, please put me back into the channel.
Okay. George, please.
Thank you.
Jade, please.
Yes. Thank you. And as I said, 谢谢你 to all of you. I studied Mandarin in college, but I'll remember about 10 words now. And I want to say, first of all, this is so valuable. I am Chinese American, born and raised in Hawaii, 3rd generation. My grandparents are from China. It's so fascinating to me, though, if you were born in Singapore, it's such a different life experience. I have friends in California who are raised in Chinatown, San Francisco, and their life experience and upbringing is so different than mine. So I just want to say, though, that I have also a background in fashion, which is so odd to talk about it here in this setting. But currently, I used to have a whole consulting practice and lead seminars with executives. But in the last 20 years, I would say I really moved in a whole different direction and moved away from the world of business and into end-of-life care, partly because I had to deal with my own parents, as you mentioned, Lily. And I realized both with my mother and father, they died from pancreatic cancer. So it was a very acute, it was a short-lived thing, but you know, short also can mean very intense. Like every day is like a week or a month worth of decisions, feelings, emotions, family dynamics. So I know we don't have the time and space to go into the detail, but I'm hoping we can do more sessions like this because I think there's so much we can learn from each other, Lily.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just point to this thing about, I think for many of us as Asians, and I can't speak for everyone, but we often feel a heavy obligation to our parents, the filial piety, which are Confucian values. And even though I was raised much more as an American than Chinese, the Chinese values were very much always in the background. Like honor thy father and mother is a Christian value, but it's also very Asian. You know, you always pay respect to your elders. So I think for me, what empowered me, to use your word, to move it from it being a burden instead of like a burden to take care of my parents, was that it really was an act of love, as many of you mentioned, that they had provided so much for me. It was my turn to give back to them. And it's turned out to be just the biggest blessing in my life, what I've learned, you know, about compassion and caring for others. And, you know, many of us who were doing the American system or the American dream were only going for success, you know, quote unquote, to be a success. And we forget sometimes that family and friends are really so much more important. So, you know, I've actually ended up over the last several years really doing more hospice work, end of life care. I went back to graduate school and got a master's of divinity so I could do pastoral care. And you just never know where life is going to lead you on this journey. And so, but it is, I'm just very touched by all of you wanting and being open to, you know, talk about this topic and share with each other.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm very, very moved because before this, I work in the fashion, you know, day in, day out, long hours. So basically, I don't have a sense of community. I'm so happy to meet friends through this platform. So I feel, you know, I'm much more empathetic, you know, empathy and compassion because really able to relate. So thank you so much for your share. Appreciate it.
Got you.
And George, would you share? And Lily, you know, you can respond because you're the guest. Is also you're really the host for this subject. So Lily, please respond, and then we're gonna take a question from George.
I just want to say I'm so grateful to Elizabeth for also inviting Jade. Elizabeth is really a connector. I think Jade, for me, coming into such a loving and supportive community, what a find. And especially now in this time of physical isolation and distancing, to be able to feel so close. And I don't know if you heard, Jade, the reason I put up the moon is that Chinese metaphor of everybody shares the same moon, you know, so even if we are so far apart. So I'm so grateful for this opportunity today. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Jeannie. Thank you. And please go ahead, George.
Yeah, George.
Okay, I got the questions because I actually live with my mom, and also I have my own family. I have two kids and with my husband, right? So taking care of the kids, I feel like in American policies, you got tax benefits and you got a lot of benefits by taking care of your kids. But however, when you are doing caregiving for your parents, I can't even claim them as a dependents in the medical bills. I cannot claim them as dependents. They have to on their own. So I was just wondering, is there anything based maybe not sure if you have done research, you know, to let us know if there is anything that the American policies in these countries that actually advocate, you know, kids taking care of their moms rather than putting them into, you know, those senior housing or whatever, right? So can you share with us? Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks.
That's an excellent question because you truly are what they call the sandwich generation. You have parents, you have kids, so you're the bologna in the middle. So you're actually the prime rib. You did such a nice job today hosting. Thank you. But that's why I have been out there is we as Chinese Americans and Asian Americans and folks from a Native community do not understand the system, right? So one good thing is every state has something called the AAA, AAA, and I don't mean the car service. It's the Area Agency on Aging. Area Agency on Aging. So wherever you are, if you're out on the West Coast, look it up, Google it. That's where to start. They are like pulling a thread on a sweater for your fashion people. Once you pull that thread, you just keep pulling. They're your source of everything. And you have financial questions, you have care questions, always start with them. They have social workers who advise. And then of course, the real technical things, there is something called an elder law attorney, elder law. And so that is so key because we can save ourselves so much money, you know, going on to putting a parent on Medicaid, all these things that we would never have known about. So definitely start though with the Area Agency on Aging. Thank you for a good question. And how old are your children?
They are about to get to 6-year-old, and my
Oh.
mom, she is 80. So
Oh, God.
I'm really in the middle.
Prime rib. You're the prime rib.
Right.
Thank you. Good question.
Lily, I thank you for mentioning the AAA because I've never even heard of that.
Oh, yes,
I'm going to look it up.
definitely.
Jennie, I don't know if you're going to be holding other sessions, but you know, it occurs to me that for aging parents too, it might be worthwhile to have a session on really the benefits of hospice, because I do a lot of hospice related work, and with a couple of my family members, we were able to bring them in a timely way. Know when to engage their services. It's also good to know what they can do and what they cannot do. And how, as a family, you were mentioning, Lily, if you don't have many, like we have a small nuclear family, we have to involve extended family, a lot of friends of my brother, so that they could come in during the week. So anyway, I'm just throwing that out as another resource. That's huge though, and it's good to know how to navigate. That's the other thing I would say. It's so important. And Elizabeth, I know you have a lot of experience here too, but I have learned just through experience how to navigate the medical system. And it's a really important thing to learn, because most of us, unless you're a doctor or you do this every day, you don't know the ins and outs. At least I didn't.
Nope.
And I make it a point to give everything that I've learned away to people that I work with, whether they're clients, whether they're, you know, a professional client, or they're just a friend, because I want them to have the tools to take the best possible care of their loved ones. Anyway, just a suggestion.
That's great.
Excellent idea, because we the information, the knowledge is going to lift a lot of burden for us, for our family. You know, if we plan better. So can you imagine how much better, you know, the quality of life we can have through all this information? I would love to talk to you about it. Maybe we can create a show, because we can invite more friends who in the similar situation, and something. It's good to prepare for the knowledge.
It is good. It's like I always say, you know, most of us, if you have kids going to college, you prepare for college. Colleges, you research the city, what kind of resources, what kind of facilities they have. We don't even begin to prepare, I think, in the same way for our, you know, our loved ones, in terms of doing the in-depth research.
Thank you, because it's a journey. Sometimes it happens so fast. So the thing is good to have some knowledge.
This is Elizabeth. I like to share. Can you hear me?
Please, Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, I love to have your share. And actually, we haven't mentioned enough of you. I hear Lily, right? Elizabeth, you are the
Well, I was just going to share.
Hightea. But let me say to you, I
Oh.
just want to acknowledge one thing. Weihaur and Clare, do any one of you have to leave your duty and go back to your day-to-day work like that? You have other commitment? Because I can translate, but in a way that I just want to make sure you are okay. Like Weihaur, I know you have commitment, and Clare, you are in Singapore. So anyone you have to leave, because we can hang around, but wow, I just don't want to ignore that you might have your commitment.
Claire did share that she got to go to work.
Okay.
Claire, thank you so much. She's
how about Josh? Then relieve them and then say hello. And then Elizabeth, sorry to blogging you. And I also see Cloud raise her hand. So let's hang around a little bit, just like seminar, that we have. So Claire and Weihaur, Josh, can you relieve them so they say hello and then.
现在要去工作了，所以我要走了。下次再见，下个星期再见，拜拜。
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Weihaur?
Oh, I'm good. I stay for 10 minutes more.
Okay. Elizabeth, you want to go ahead and share?
Yeah, that's perfect. I was just saying, I heard a lot of acknowledgement with my name coming up. So, and I just wanted the opportunity to acknowledge Weihaur before he left. I mean, I only knew about Hightea Anytime because of Weihaur, and he's been instrumental in my transformation when I was going through Landmark. And he has been such a force of nature for me. And even as I just have Lily here and Jade here, I'm just starting to get present to how this community is growing, just little bit by little bit. But there's this commonality that we all share, that it seems to me that there's this thirst for wanting more information so that we can empower ourselves. And we each bring small different pieces. So when I did my presentation, it was just starting from being as a death doula, advocating for our parents, having those conversations. So if we can start there to have conversations, then we can, have Big Sister Lily, who's such a wealth of knowledge and resource to help us help, our parents. And then with Jade, with her hospice experience, I mean, it's sort of just, I always say I talk a lot, but there's some good in coming to talk, because I do talk to people and I learn from people, and I can see that we can connect. And then just one by one, I'm seeing that we're building and expanding even this conversation that just started sort of a few weeks ago. And I'm hoping that Jade will have the opportunity to present here the next time. And so I just wanted to acknowledge in general, just this community and this platform that allows us to have our voices heard as family caregivers, so that we can also continue to advocate and be responsible for empowering our community, because for us being the caregivers, we have so much to share that we want to lift others who are maybe struggling just from our own experiences. So thank you, Jennie and George and Weihaur. Sorry. But yeah, so it's just
Okay, can I sum up in one sentence what you said to 国生 in Beijing? 国生那个刚才讲话的是我们的这个湾区的
Oh yes.
他是一个也是医疗服务人员，他是一个护士。他讲的是因为通过那个 Elizabeth， 我们就认识到那个 Lily 在华盛顿 DC 的华盛顿那个首都的那边，然后就认识到 Jay， 也有很多我们的这里的朋友，大家都很关心这个事，所以 Elizabeth 说，这是很高兴，通过这个平台呢，我们也是结了缘，而且是可以把这个大家都关心的跨代跨国的照顾家人的事情，可以好像一个那个波浪的这样子去做一个好的影响啊。
Whatever you said, I don't know what you said.
No, I'm saying it to Guoseng in Beijing, because Elizabeth say a lot. I cannot reproduce you, and Elizabeth, I couldn't acknowledge you enough because you are in your car. I don't know whether you're going somewhere or stop in the parking lot, but thank you for connecting us. And I wish, okay, I would say that I want to acknowledge here one thing. It's a hiccup for me. Maybe I'm too relaxed. I invite a lot of people, but I think my invitation to China or in people in Asia is too last minute. So it's less people than we expected, but we do have an audience. But I say I would love to learn marketing, or not what we call marketing, like how to take this to a bigger audience. Because Lily, you are such a great speaker, clear, extraordinary content. And but Jay, you share, and we have Tony in New York, right? 讲中文的，然后so okay, Weihaur, what do you want to say? Or Cloud have a hand raised too. Cloud, can you go first? Cloud in San Francisco.
Hi. It brings back so much. I learned taking care of my mom. She had adult leukemia, and caring for her and living in the hospital for about 2 months. And the process of her giving birth to me and my, she had such a difficult time letting go, and she was so scared. And so I literally had the nurse lift her up, and I got behind her and held her and rocked her. And it was New Year's Day, and what was so significant was that on channel, the public station was Ode to Joy, and it was on the last note that she finally let go. And I was humming, and the vibration of my humming, the music, and it was the last, I mean, it was one of the most incredible gifts that I've ever experienced.
Thank you, Cloud. I'm tearing up.
Thank you.
I'm tearing up because that is absolutely beautiful when you think about you kicking, as the Chinese say, in her stomach all those years ago. God bless. Thank you for that beautiful memory.
Thank you.
This is what this type of forum brings to all of us, is an opportunity to share. That was beautiful. You do your mother proud.
Yeah.
It was her gift to me, as she gave me the gift of life.
Mm-hmm.
I was there when she moved on in her journey. Thank you so much, everyone.
I just want to say, Cloud, also what you express for us is what I call the healing impact of the full circle. There was a coming full circle for you in your relationship to your mother. That's a very profound space when we're letting go of our loved ones, you know, and that if each of us in our own way, that's one of the beautiful life tasks that we can experience, if at all possible, before they depart, because it will leave you with a deep sense of appreciation for who they are, and that you take that then into the rest of your life.
那个国生啊，刚才跟小梅，刚才Cloud 他是在三藩市湾区的，他是美国白人，他分享的是他。
Norman, wait a second. Washington is not here, so.
Oh, Gosling is not here? Okay, it's good. Okay, so he left. Okay, good.
For your translation. And Susan speak English too. Susan, hi.
Hi. Thank you for leading the wonderful education program. I said yes, it's wonderful. Actually, I learned a lot from you.
Thank you,
Susan. Everybody. Thank you so much. Because tonight I have the other parents conference on the Zoom, so I just the last minute to join. I'm sorry about yes.
You're also a sandwich generation. Thank you for joining us as much as you could.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susan, for stopping by. Cloud and I have a big family, so
Yeah.
always away from family. And
Jennie, Susan is a good friend of mine. She's an educator all her life. Now her two sons is already been long time taking over her kind of like extra curriculum and you know, tutoring and also activity school. A devoted Catholic, and she educate a lot of Chinese American from, you know, 几岁到十几岁到 you know, or not only high school, but high school and then go to great university. But it's not the type Susan just do intelligent like nigga, just how to take tests. She just all out supporting Chinese family and educate all these young people to great adult.
Actually, within last 2 years, I was back and forth in the hospital twice, and my life is totally changed. And I have 2 times of stroke. The second time was very serious. I need to stay in the wheelchair for a while, but thank God now I can walk. I'm independent, everything. My son take care of me these 2 years. I always think I have a burden for them because almost everything I need them. So as a parent, this is my feeling. Lily, did you ask your mom how she feel, or she can remember?
Yeah, Susan, thank you for that question. My mother's mind has been clear. It's just her body that's gotten weaker. So she's a feisty one. She literally, I didn't go into the real migration story, but she literally walked out of China as a young child, escaping the communists. As a matter of fact, she had her memoir published. She had written it when she was in her 50s, and I was able to find a publisher. So I didn't mention it tonight, but she's a survivor. But now the issue is, you know, when you are an immigrant in another country, and it's a westernized country, I mean, I think all of us have to think about all of the losses in the nursing homes. And what does it mean for the future in America of the type of aging housing if we don't design where we want to age? So I keep saying my mother has a me, but I, as a single woman who never married, I don't have a me. So if we don't get going on how we want to age and where we want to age, so I think it's that Gandhi quote, we have to become the change we see, or I have to get the right quote, but we're going to have to design what our future is. And it's an immigration issue because right now we have only used Filipinas. Someone said the next round of the paid caregivers will be mostly Latina because of the immigration patterns. So someone was making a sad joke in a way. They said, we need to learn 3 Spanish words: thank you, baño, and, you know, water, agua, right? So the point is that's a very key, I mean, it's a sad joke, but it's a true joke. Care is an immigration issue, and it's an untouchable issue right now in America. How will we age? I keep saying, thank God Elizabeth is younger than me. She's my little sister. She can just come and turn me over every 3 hours.
Thank you, Lily.
Thank you, Susan.
I'm a talkative guy, but I just don't want to talk more, but I'm absorbing it. Because actually my grandma's sister, who is here at starting from the 60s, if she lives, she's 100 and some years old. She is 60 herself, maybe 50 some. She become home attendant that serve non-Chinese at the 60s, and later on be able to, as a head of household, bring all her family over from Hong Kong and Taiwan. Like this is just, this topic is really have a ripple effect. And I'm lucky that my brother is taking care of my mom, and he's not here tonight, but he's taking care of my mom for all the years I'm not here. So I can talk with you, have a peace of mind, and I never thank him enough, really.
Weihaur, you wanted to speak?
How?
Yeah, I just really enjoy the show and translating I really get how in depth our sharing and heart. I think is a very important point that we go out, we don't find the books that reflects our experience and uniquely. And I think that it's important that we gather support one another one by one, like we say, it's not quantity, it's quality. And very good to hear today is that people touch and open up their life and for us who have been like caregiver or like a community leader. I also been a community leader for a long time, and to actually come together to meet each other, as meeting Lily and Jade, and to really know that, hey, we're not alone, that we care about the same issue. We might be one out of the 50, but we found the other one out of 50s, and which is extraordinary. I think in a lot of times Chinese society are not encouraging volunteerism or because it's not making money and like all that. We hear all those years and like, oh my God, like, who is going to care about for ourselves and our community if we don't share and support each other, understand the lonely journey of being an activist. And so I'm alone of that. I appreciate the other activists being on board together and understand our own journey of standing for a cause that I've never known before. And so
I was so honored to dip into your presentation and how you customized what you were sharing with the Hightea universe to an Asian flair. I really enjoyed that. I never got a chance to thank you personally.
Thank you. Yeah, awesome. We hope that really grow this community and small and treasure and growing. Yeah, I brought Elizabeth on board and and really see now she bring two others on board, and that's how we grow together. And so it's awesome. Thank you all of our work together.
So thank you. Weihaur, he's been amazing as a coach, life coach, health coach. And he's a good leader, he knows how to coach people about lifestyle. So, and he's so loving, giving, and he's an amazing guy. Thank you, Weihaur, being here today. And we have Arista. Arista, you want to say hello? Arista, can't hear you. You're muted.
Hi, everyone. I just saw the info.
Oh, wow. Thank you for stopping by. You want to say hello to Lily? Any
Hi, Lily.
Any question? It's an open forum right now.
I have several I knew I met before, but Lily is the first time I saw you.
Yes. I'm
probably I missed your speech.
It's okay, because I had asked about the recording. So it's wonderful that all of you put your archives so that other people, can come in, because everyone is, busy. I wanted to ask all the translators and interpreters, it's already so long after the time. Are you all okay? I know it's very tiring to translate and everything. I'm so honored to have been with all of you. I know this is just the beginning of a long conversation.
Right. Wonderful. Yeah.
And George, your daughter, have any question for Lily? You want to say hello?
Yeah, George has his little girl. How old is she?
She is about to turn to 6. So
6?
yeah.
Hey,
Oh.
hello.
How are you, Phil? All right. Lily, this we are open forum, so it's recording, but we stopped the translation. So we do. If anybody need a translation, Norman can do translation, Weihaur, or I can do translation. So don't worry. So
I do want to acknowledge that normally we are way over time. Okay, it's not that we want to rush. I just want to acknowledge some people may need to go, and also yeah, as a whole I want to acknowledge that we can do things like, for instance, the technical glitches and also the delay notice to you, Arista, and this is not the way we would like to have this ongoing. But today we do have everything. We have a very good topic, but then we have everything going together, like some technical glitch and some late notice. And I want to apologize.
Oh, no, no, no. This is high class, high tea. But I just want to be aware that you all are, you know, having other obligations. I give Jeannie, I invited Jeannie to share my email with everybody, but just quickly, I just use my last name, Liu, and then without a space, the word consultants. I wanted to sound official, but I have not begun consulting. So it's Liu Consultants with an S at gmail.com.
okay.
So we're all connected now. We're going to stay in touch. And I cannot thank Elizabeth enough because, you know, it is lonely when you're isolated as a caregiver. So to have found this community really touches my heart. And all of you are at different stages of your immigration lifestyle. But I think all of us are bound by the fact that we are the Chinese diaspora and how lucky we are to be in a country that gives us opportunity, has given us so many friends who honor our culture, who have shared their culture. How many times have we all been invited to Western Thanksgivings and then looking at all those knives and forks and going, oh my God, we only use one chopstick. How do I do this? And then they teach you, you know, move from outside in, right? So how lucky we are. So I cannot end without saying, I'm going to say it this way. God bless America. God bless America.
Yes.
And I too want to echo, this has been such a blessing. Even though I was raised as a Christian, I would say I'm very Buddhist and very Confucian and very Taoist at the same time. And many of us are, I think, speak multiple languages that way in terms of our culture. And so I do want to thank you, Lily, and for meeting you, and Jeannie for facilitating all of us, and Wei, how do you say your name?
Weihaur. Weihaur.
And Norman for handling all the logistics and whatever, and certainly Elizabeth, who's sort of our I guess she's my little sister also, so my May. I'm usually the May, but she can be my May. And
Jennie, who invited you? May I ask, like, who invited you today? Like, or who noticed you about this? I just wanted to get to know you.
Yeah, it's been really, I mean, you know, I want to say the other piece I'm really present to, I think all of us have had to navigate, and we don't talk about it much, but, you know, even though I felt, as I mentioned, growing up, I was much more American in that sense. But in my second half of life, I think I've become more Asian or appreciate my past and my culture a lot more. And then all of us in different ways have had to really navigate and sometimes juggle, you know, and like, am I more American or am I more Chinese or am I what? What am I now? And so I think sometimes there's been many benefits, but there's also conflicts. And I think that would be another really useful piece to explore and kind of tease out in this community. That's just another idea. And I too have to actually, oh gosh, you've got me really stirred up here, but I need to leave shortly. And I would like to just give you my email too, and just please be in touch. I think
Can you
this is
text
really
it on?
rich.
Is it? Are you able to text it on? So I want to get it. Don't want to get it wrong because this is a text.
Yeah.
I'll put it in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah. Can you
How
put it
about
in the
that?
chat? Yeah.
And if please email me, but identify yourself if you email me, so I'll know where I met you. You know, and this is just really, gosh, wonderful.
Thank you.
And my request is please don't send me any junk mail. Please be very, I would say, selective, and let's just honor each other's space, you know, so we don't bring any garbage into the space. That may not be a very delicate way to say that, but I think it's a very honest thing to say. But thank you so much, all
Yes, all of you.
blessings and blessings.
Thank you so much.